let's talk about this new technology that we recently heard about, nsyte, which is
So
a website that you can publish somehow through Noster and through Blossom servers. Talk about this.
right. Yeah, actually, I mentioned this at the Wednesday night. What we do the first Wednesday nights in Atlanta, we have what we call Builder Night, where it's just kind of people demoing what they're working on. It. I really wasn't prepared to talk about anything, but then they were like, "Hey, does anyone else have something to say?" I thought, well, let me just mention this because like I think it's interesting. I haven't really looked into it much depth, but another podcaster had mentioned it and I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. So, and I've been thinking about something like this as well. So, what is it? nsyte's kind of funky. They spell it with a Y here, nsyte.run, but if you look in the docs, they'll, or like even right here, they use a nsyte with an I. But anyway,
What's the difference? Is there a
I think
difference?
it's just the fact that they couldn't get the domain name.
Ah, okay, okay.
You know, I actually I had a talk a couple Wednesday nights ago about I was presenting chapter 8 of the sovereign individual to our what we call our plebs group, and I I I I had put a meme. Can I get it fast enough? Hang on a second. All right, you're willing to like take a let me bring it up here
Yeah, let's
quick.
check it out. Anything for a meme.
Yeah,
It
it
better
was
be
a meme
good.
that kept coming up in my mind. Is like, God, you know, I had this whole presentation and we talked about fourth turning, we talked about Ayn Rand, we talked about everything the authors had said, but we also uh, talked about property and property rights. And this meme kept coming up, so I have to get back to where I can share. Let's see. So, have you seen this one?
Oh yeah, yeah. Popular. I've seen this one. Yeah, yeah. Not
and
this,
and
not this domain one, but yes, I've seen this meme. Yeah.
I first saw this about, I don't know, maybe 6, 9 months ago, and
Pay the twelve
every
dollars.
every frickin' twice a month probably I get GoDaddy. I use GoDaddy for most of my domain names, and there's like I'll get this email. Oh, your domain name, blah blah blah, is like up for renewal. It's like, we're going to automatically charge your credit card like
Hmm.
20 to 30 bucks to like renew it for another year. I'm like, man, I should like take these things off auto pay because it's killing me because this is like racking up. I mean, it's not the end of the earth, but it's like, you know what? It's
Yeah.
like, and it really boils down to this meme, right? Which is like back in the day, you had a an idea and like, oh, I can make a business out of this or I can make a cool website out of this. And it's all about this certain topic. And you're like, maybe you start thinking about it, working on it. And at some point you say to yourself, oh, wait a second, I better make sure that the domain name like is available
Yeah.
for this project that I care about. Um, and maybe you go searching around and if maybe it's something like, blueberry or something like that, or whatever you want, something very common, very short, very easy to say, very easy to spell. You know, if you get the .com, you don't have to like continually tell people, oh, it's like it's this but .net,
Hmm.
right? That was the thing back in the day. It's like, oh, if you get the .com, everybody will know it, so you can
Hmm.
say, it's like Amazon. You don't have to say Amazon.com, and
Right.
you would just be able to kind of, the presumption was like there. And then, because the top level namespace, the .com, the .net, certain ones you couldn't get, like gov, edu,
Hmm.
um, you had to be part of an education thing. I
Yeah.
mean, and
They're
then there was
gate
all
kept.
the specific country ones that they made. You had to go to each country to get those, and which it was quite an ordeal.
Mhm.
But for the longest time, it was like there was only a few recognizable names. Org was another one. But then you'd be like, well, I want to make this into a business. And if I get the .org, then people will think it's like a nonprofit and I
Yeah.
want them to know that it's a business. So I really want a .com, but the name is already taken. And so maybe I'll like change the name of my company or my idea, or maybe I'll like make it a little longer, but then it's more to type. And what if people mistype it? Maybe I should get a couple variants of commonly mistyped versions so that in case they mistype it, it'll come to me. You had to go through all these gyrations, right, of thought and thinking about all of this stuff.
Never
And
ends.
and then you're like, man, now you're like, I got to register 3 different ones. I got to pay for a certificate. That's a couple $100 a year, if I want to have it SSL. And then you're like, oh man, so often you would you'd go through that with this kind of, maybe you've already put a bunch of effort into like developing this idea. Uh, but then they opened up the top level space. So you got like IO and club and fun and dot whatever and dot every. So suddenly the namespace was kind of like wide open, but you had to like then like make sure, oh no, it's like like this one nsyte dot run. I don't know why dot run dot xyz has gotten popular,
Hmm.
dot io dot ai, all these things. Like, so now it's like back to like, well, you have to like specify the top level, you can't just presume it.
Mhm.
Um but there was this whole time where it's like you would get into this like mode. It's like, oh, that's a great name. I haven't even thought about the idea yet too much, but it's such a great name. Let me just check to see if it's available. Oh, it is available. Well, I better jump on that.
Mhm.
I better like get that domain name. Like I've got one called trustedfilter.net, you know, network of trusted people that you trust. And it's an idea. It's like, okay, well, maybe this would be a social media thing where you could sort of like, I don't know. I thought about it some, but I didn't like take it very far. But I like that was like 10 years ago. So it's like I've like paid for this thing like year after year after year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I just let it go? And I was like, oh, I can't let it go. And that's where this meme really fits, right? It's like you get this notice that your dream site that you always hoped that when you had some spare time that you could like work on it, right? And make it into something that you could like really be proud of. Now your domain renewals come up and you're faced with this decision, right? You either admit that your dream is dead or you just pay the renewal fee. It's like, and like admitting that your dream is dead is so hard. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, it was a cool thing. It was a great idea at the time, but I just didn't have the time or energy or like the wherewithal. I'd have to go, raise VC money and hire programmers. So tying this back to the AI, and it's why I put it in my talk the other week, is like, well, maybe you can keep the dream and just build it yourself. Ask the AI, and at least then you'll have something you can like point to and try out and evangelize to other people or whatever
Mhm.
it is, and make something of it. The barrier to entry to create something is so low now that it's not a thing anymore. You can go on to this site called Lovable. There's others, and just I want a site that does this, and it'll just build it as you type. It's like crazy.
And
So it's
now
like,
you can own your name on Bitcoin with Spaces protocol.
so yeah, this is where I think Spaces really starts kind of shining, right? Let me see if I can switch back to my and if you start thinking about it from a perspective of, okay, I I'm gonna make this site, this content, whatever it is, the thing I'm passionate about, and I don't want to like be beholden to like pay the domain registrar over and over. So let's just presume that Spaces gets widely adopted and people know what it is and can use it. So they can like do something to where they could put up their name and their site. And so it's kind of like no more. Well, let's be clear. There's technically you have to at least touch the top level name once a year in order to keep it from expiring. It has a 1 year expiration on. But anything you create as a sub name is created. It exists. It's there forever. You don't have to ever pay for it again. So it kind of alleviates that whole like dreading the renewal and having to make a decision again. But what doesn't it do? So it kind of covers one part of it, but what doesn't it do? Well, so I build a website and I point my space's name to it and everybody sees it there and it's saying something that somebody doesn't like or some government doesn't like or something's that, for some reason I attract undue attention in a way that people want to start, hitting me with a denial of service attack, or maybe they'll appeal to my hosting provider to like yank my account, or maybe if they're incentivized enough, they might go to my DNS registrar and try to have my DNS name blocked. Well, if I'm using Space's name, they can't do that. They can't because it's anchored on Bitcoin. It's validated through zero knowledge proofs on the subname side, but they still could take the site down. They could still
the hosting,
blast. They could attack the hosting, right? They could attack that part of it. And this nsyte project is an attempt at, just like social media. I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of conservative social media people on YouTube that got banned and kicked off. And at the time, it's like, well, you don't like being banned? Well, just go make your own social media site that won't ban you. So people did. They created something called Parler, which was gaining a lot of traction for a while. The problem was Parler was hosted on Amazon Web Services. And when Parler got to be something that someone didn't like anymore, they just called up, their buddies over at Amazon Web Services and said, hey, kick off Parler. Just like your bank can say, hey, we don't want to have you as a bank customer anymore. You need to like liquidate your accounts and go somewhere else. I mean, they can do that.
For any reason.
For any reason. And they don't have to tell you what the reason is. They just, one day they say, we saw the Trump kids had this issue. So it's like, well, what could you do in order to make the hosting of the content of your site less vulnerable to singular attacks of whatever the nature of it is? And the idea is to take the same mechanism that Nostr provides. So I was talking about the social media. Well, Parler got yanked and other things sprung up, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, some of these other platforms. So now people are scattered. They had to rebuild their whole, user base on these other platforms. People forgot what they were about, etc. It hurts when you're being a social media and that's like everything to you.
Oh yeah.
So Nostr was designed to decentralized the messaging component of it, such that your connection to your fan base or to your user base wouldn't be disrupted. So it was all about, there's no single point of failure in the Nostr world. Well, this nsyte, there was another protocol that kind of came up, because even on Nostr, like if there was a picture or something, it was linked to a singular content site. Like maybe it was a Cloudflare hosted, which was distributed a bit, but still, it's like there was an authority that could remove that content. Maybe it was a video or a download or something. So the messaging part was covered, but the content part was still vulnerable. So the people took the same idea and they created what's called the Blossom server network, and for hosting and distributing the content part of it across multiple servers. So now if somebody wanted to take you down, they'd not only have to take down all the Nostr relays that you're using, they'd have to take down all the Blossom servers that you're using. And if they can't do all of that all at once, and you can sprinkle these things across jurisdictions and stuff if you want, then they can't shut you down. Of course, managing all of that gets to be a challenge, and this is where the nsyte seems to come into it, which is to basically gather up all your information about your site, the web pages and the links to the content, and the graphics and anything else that you want that's like a binary object or a media asset, and put it all into a folder, run it through this like bundling publishing thing that makes it easy to then distribute it into the Nostr slash Blossom content network. And that way, then it's pretty hard to like get rid of it. The problem, so it's got a lot of promise to it. The problem is that the way that these the folks with this project envisioned that you would address it. And the last time I tried this, their hosting was down, so maybe this doesn't work. But I'll click on this anyway, so you can see what the URL looks like. Yeah, it's still not working, but it actually addresses the website with with your Nostr npub, right? So this whole thing is the npub, and then they're then using this thing called nostrdeploy.com to so this is still a DNS host name. But you'd say, well, that's kind of ungangly. I mean, I have to maybe you can make a QR code of this and make it easier for people, but you just can't be talking to somebody on the phone. It's like, oh, go to my website. It's blah, blah. It's npub1 nsyte 9feef, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Yeah, there's no way, right? However, Spaces you could put something like,
Spaces fixes this.
My site, my at site, and that's it.
Yep. That's it.
And boom. That's something you can easily communicate. You can easily get that top level name, maybe not site, but create a subname for it, put get the certificate and the proof generator for it, associate the IP address of or that long thing for addressing your nsyte, and you've got the name, and if you're careful about it, no reliance on DNS at all, and your content is distributed. At least it's not all centralized, and anyone can get to it, assuming that their client understands how to deal with this and resolve it. And you've got something that's pretty hard to disrupt. Let's just say that's going to be a challenge. And it's your content, it's your sovereign property. It's like, ain't nobody taking that away. Or if there is a way, we haven't envisioned it yet. So
yeah, it's really cool. So I think it's a good coming out.
Yeah, I think it's a really good complement to it. We'll see where it goes.
What do we have? There's a lot of cool stuff, right? So we got Bitcoin's the king. It's like money, amazing. Then we have things like Nostr, awesome. We have Spaces, awesome. We have nsyte. This seems really cool as well. Does BitTorrent, you think, fit into this? BitTorrent seems really cool too, but do they use Blossom servers similar to this?
BitTorrent uses what's it called? It's a similar to what the Fabric, a
hash table.
It's a node network that I'm like, the name of it's slipping me right now, but it's effectively its own node network that knows how to communicate and advertise the appearance of other nodes, and BitTorrent was kind of the granddaddy that led to a lot of these other content schemes. Distributed hash table network, DHT node is what it's called. And there's the node network that BitTorrent uses, which is large and very resilient. So it's one of the problems with the BitTorrent is that you have to constantly advertise that your content is available. I think a few times a day at least. Otherwise, you kind of fade in. It's kind of ephemeral in a
Mm,
sense. The fabric or the node network that Spaces uses and is going to use, we'll talk about that some more, has like a 2 day sort of ephemeralness to it. So
mm.
if you want it extra information to be available around your subname, then there's a certain amount of like you have to kind of tickle it every couple of days or so. The There is a way though to take those subnames, and we're going to get into this. It's I think one of the most exciting parts of this whole Spaces protocol is to take those subnames and create an on-chain anchor for that particular subname, and that way you become the owner of that anchor, and it is forever yours, and you don't have any reliance on anyone else for maintaining or managing it, which
Definitely.
is very cool. So anyway,
Well,
yeah.
real quick
So
on that point.
mhm.
So the short-term nature of these things, you were saying they're ephemeral, they expire in a day or so. You have to keep re-updating. Is that a technological limitation, or is that a security thing? Why is that?
I think it's a trade-off in that if your content is and when I say the content, I mean like all the data associated with the name, right? The
Okay.
identifier, whether it's that long string that I showed you, or the Nostra and Pub, or the Spaces stuff, you know, is if you need people to know what all this associated data around it is, then you need to like, and you want that data to be available, but yet you don't want it to be only in any one place,
Mhm.
again, because you don't want to be attacked and have, somebody be able to, you know, limit you or interfere with your ability. So by nature, you're having to spread it across multiple servers, and then the overhead of all those servers having to know
Mm.
exactly what version of your content and all the stuff associated with your identifier is like, it's like you can't just like, if you want to change it, if you change it one place, right, then it tells one server, maybe another server tells another server. Maybe some of those servers are like offline for a while and they can't get communicated with, but they're still like serving other parts of the net or something. They
Mm.
might have an old answer, like the version of something that you don't want, and they're still saying thinking it's the most latest.
Mm.
And yet, because of the distributed nature of it, it's a trade-off. It's like, well, if we let it expire, then we know stale information won't be lingering out there,
Got it.
right? And which puts the burden back on the person that wants to maintain that data with like, okay, effectively refreshing the publishing of that data. And so, and also it's like for data and information that's just like nobody cares about. If you don't care about it, then you're not going to take any effort to like refresh it, and it won't clutter up like the larger set of stuff that's trying to be maintained. It's not perfect, but it's a trade-off for sure.
It makes
Um,
sense. It
but
makes sense.
but but again, that's kind of this like middle ground between like, oh, I got a space name, subspace name, and I want to try some stuff out, and maybe put some more things around it. Um, so I'll use this sort of like this this publishing network, the uh, the what they call the fabric relay,
Mhm.
and then maybe it's like, okay, I've gone 6 months, none of the data around my name has changed. Instead of being continually trying to re-up it and make sure it's consistent, I'm going to switch to like getting that sub name put on chain, and
Yeah.
then associate the same set of, now that I know it's not really going to change, I'm going to put it on chain, and that way it's really nailed. Now if I want to change everything, I have to go update that record, which is another on-chain transaction, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a balance, I think, between like uncensorability, like making the attack surface as as broad as possible without being unreasonably, unmanageable. And yeah, I'm just excited to see where people are going to build on this. I really am.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, all these things look cool. I'm really excited myself. Just all these new technologies that are coming out. So I'm excited to see just where we go, like we talked about, open source, sovereign, independence.
Mm-hmm.
That's great because I think of humanity as like a chain, one long chain. So we all do help each other, but we all have to make sure that we're strong. So an individual is a link in the chain, and we need to be strong independently so that society can be strong and flourish as a whole.
That's right.